to me, business is like a sport. It's fun. You
Yeah.
got players, and I enjoy that. And so as long as I can continue to contribute to my team and all these livelihoods, it's a fun industry. It's a fun business to be in.
This is the PMP Industry Insider Podcast.
Hello and welcome out to another episode of the PMP Industry Insider Podcast, where we take a look at what is changing in the pest and lawn industries, and we take you to the front lines of those who are driving those changes. I'm Donnie Shelton, owner of Triangle Pest Control as well as Triangle Lawn Care. And with me from Raleigh, nonetheless, Mr. Dan Gordon. You're not from Raleigh. You're moonlighting in Raleigh. Dan is here on location. We're recording this episode. He's not at our location, but he will be this afternoon. At least I expect him to be. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself, our sponsors? Of course, you're going to talk about the peer group, talk about our special guest, and our topic.
Morning, everyone. Dan Gordon, PCO Bookkeepers, M&A specialists. We are CFOs and bookkeepers to the pest and lawn industry. Special thanks to our sponsors. Our sponsors are Coalmarch by WorkWave. If you're interested in marketing services for the pest or lawn industry, Coalmarch is who you should call. Learn more at coalmarch.com. And if you're interested in insurance products for the pest and lawn industry, that would be pestsure.com. They specialize in workers' comp, general liability, auto, etc. And our newest sponsor for this year, which is pretty cool stuff that they're working on, is Voice for Pest. They're an industry leader designing and implementing unparalleled voice solutions for PCOs and LCOs of any size, coast to coast. Learn more at voiceforpest.com/podcast. And if you're interested in a peer group, which is why I'm here in Raleigh to attend a peer group at Donnie's new location that doesn't have a sign on it because he can't get any.
We can't afford it.
We can't.
That's what it is. Yeah, we can't get. We can buy a building, but not a sign.
Yeah,
So,
and I'm sure. I thought North Carolina was pretty easy with variances and stuff, but been there, done that. So
it's
anyway,
ridiculous. Only 4 colors, just so you know. This is supposed to be in your logo. Correct. Anyway, don't get me started. Don't get me started.
All right. Well, if you're interested in joining a peer group, the signs are not part of that. Please visit us at pmpindustryinsider.com/peer groups, or go back and listen to episode 136 for more information. And I believe one of our most recent, I'm not sure which number, we had David Billingsley on, and he was giving some insights from the peer groups. That was a pretty interesting one. And today, the topic is 5 years later, Brian Olson on the growth and efficiency of his business. Brian is the president and CEO of the Bugman, a PCT top 100 pest control company based in Anaheim, California. Really
Beautiful
excited.
place.
Oh yeah. Where you just won? Where you going? Disney World? Okay, or Disneyland. We're really excited to have Brian with us today. Longtime listeners will remember that Brian was actually one of the part of the original COVID era webinar series before we called it a podcast that ultimately led to the podcast way back in 2020.
Yeah,
and
blast from the past.
Yeah, Brian joined us in August 2020 on a session called State of the Industry, Growth Through Efficiency and Profit, to talk about changes he'd been making over the past several years, and when he began working with PCO Bookkeepers as well as Coalmarch. And he's back to update us on his business today. Well, welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Donnie. Glad to be here.
I can't believe it's been 5 years.
5 years,
crazy.
and
That's
we were in the middle of that pandemic when that.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
that
I remember.
was, episode.
So how long were we working together, Brian? We started
Dan,
well before
you
COVID.
came in and did the report in the August of 2018. We had our first full year in 19, and then boom, the pandemic hit. So
yeah.
we had 1 year under our belt, actually, with both of you, Coalmarch and PCO Bookkeepers.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, don't blame PCO Bookkeepers for the pandemic. So,
Well, welcome,
right.
Brian. We're glad you're here. And, obviously a lot has changed in the 5 years since we last met. I know a lot has changed with me, besides getting older, grayer, and uglier. With Dan, I can assure you he's
patient.
gotten older and uglier and grayer as myself as well. However, I hear things are great over at the Bugman.
It's a great day at the Bugman.
It's a great day at the Bugman.
That's our line.
Yeah. So listen, just to start us off, I would love, I don't know if you have a chance, but just kind of talk us through, or when we were talking back in COVID, kind of just a picture of then and then like kind of where you guys are at now since 2020 and what changes have you made and, kind of how's it going really?
Yeah, it's going good. Back in 2020, I led the charge with, we understand there's a pandemic, but we're not going to participate. We're going to follow all the rules and regulations, but we are going to persevere and we're going to push right on through it. And little did I know what was ahead of us for our pest control industry. Um, and so we complied and we did everything according to the rules and regulation. And each year is just, we keep building on top of each year. I think the one thing that came out of the pandemic was the KPIs, because overnight we had to go remote. Of course, our field technicians and sales team were always remote, but when you're used to reporting to the office every day and then going out into the field, and then you had a service center of, I think at that time, maybe 20 people. All of a sudden, everybody's remote. That's quite a adjustment quickly. I would say we always had some of our KPIs, but never as laser focused as we have today. It started out where every day we would look at our leads, every day we'd look at our sales, every day we'd look at our cash flow. And it started out with just a handful of KPIs, 5, 6, or 7. Today we're up to 36 KPIs that we do every single morning. Our leadership team of 12 people get together at 8:30. We're on and off in about 20 minutes. And we go through all the KPIs, which are the levers of running your company. And so you know what to pull each day. You look at your history and then you say, okay, what do we need to change today? So we like it so much that we've kept it in place. We don't have to meet every single day, but I kind of have this general philosophy of leading people and manage systems. And our KPIs are part of our systems for leading our leadership team. So that's
Did
kind
you,
of,
question
we've
for you,
had
Brian.
some good growth.
Did you get that? Is there any system or book that you read for that huddle, that 20-minute huddle and that kind of thing? Or you just kind of, that just kind of evolved?
I can't say it was exactly just one book, but I love to read, and I've done uh, been to so many webinars and seminars, and throughout the years being involved with the industry, I knew that as I scaled and grew from 2 million to 5 million, 5 million to 7 million, 7 to 10. I knew that we had to become more sophisticated. So I think it was literally we started off with, I think, 5 or 6 KPIs, and we just evolved to looking at the most important lead indicators, not only lag indicators, but lead indicators that are going to tell us what to do today. And so it's just something we developed over time.
So that's a lot of KPIs, key performance
Yeah.
indicators. And so I'm assuming this goes through, when I I was as you were talking, I was like, man, that's a lot. And I've never really audited how many I actually look at. And so I whipped up a report as you were talking, like the one I look at. I have a daily and I have a forecast one. And sure enough, it's in the 30s.
30? Yeah.
I had never thought to sit down and count it. But I mean, they all kind of obviously rolled up to, I mean, to me, the critical number I look at that I consider to be the big driver of our business is our composite score. But nonetheless, I mean, there's a lot that sits under that needs to be managed. And to your point, as far as the systems. So let's talk a little bit about. So you've done that, and then what have you been up to? So that the daily meeting I think is fantastic, and the review of the KPIs are fantastic. What changes have you seen as a result of doing that?
Um, a more focused leadership team with intentionality every day of
Hmm.
hitting our goals. There, sometimes a company works in silos, and we're no different. Where sales are working over here, you can see my stools behind me. I started out with a 3-legged stool, sales, production, and administration, with the red tabletop leadership holding it all together. And then about 3-4 years ago, I developed the four-legged stool. So I have the leadership team holding it all together. I've got the sales team, that's independent leg. I have the administrative leg, which is the accounting and HR. I have the production leg, rubber meets the road quality. And then our service center is our orange leg of the business. And so each leg represents focus, but to answer your question, Donnie, the KPIs, a lot of times each department is focused on their own KPIs. So what I wanted to do was bring together a cohesive team that's accomplishing our goal. And that's what we do. And so we look at everything from billing, payments, proposed sales. How much do we propose yesterday? Our total sales. We look we drill down everything all the way to attendance, NPS score. How many customers did we lose yesterday? How many did we gain? Safety, wellness indicators, incidents that we've had, number of truck inspections. One of the things we've been up to is developing our CSOs. Some companies call them complaints. We used to call them complaints too. Customer service opportunities are CSOs. We had 260 CSOs last year. And from that, we've been able to improve our service by listening to the customers and understanding what we can do better. So what have I been doing? This has been leading to about a 36% growth since we last talked in 2020. So we were at, I believe, Dan, I think we were at 59% recurring, and I think we just hit 80% recurring in January. So we're getting there.
Brian, how many customers do you have?
Right at about 10,000 active, 17,000.
So 10,000 active, call them quarterlies, I'm assuming, right? So
Majority are quarterly.
So let's say that's 40,000 services, and you have 260 complaints. That's it?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
our NPS
terrific.
score, Dan, I'm very happy to say, that our NPS score hit 90 in 2024. Our goal was 92. Right now we're trending at 91 for 2025. A customer service opportunity is anything where there's an indifference with the customer, whether it be a text, email, or a phone call, where a customer is just saying, I'm not sure about this. Now, these aren't retreats. I still have ants. Everything's fine. Just come out and take care of it.
Right.
Retreats are separate. CSOs are things where there's a damage claim. There's an indifference between the sales and service and what they received. A CSO is a customer service opportunity. So many years ago, people were all worried about complaints because they thought they'd get in trouble. And I said, no, a complaint is our friend. So we had to change them to something that was more friendly, and we changed it to a customer service opportunity.
When the call comes in or the text comes in or whatever, who makes the determination whether it's a CSO or just a retreat?
Oh, we put that in the hands of the front line. Anybody can make it a CSO. If you feel, if you're a technician and you're thinking, there's something here, this customer is not 100% happy, let's get others involved. Let's try to see what we can do to make that customer happy. This is what I've been doing the most, is driving our culture toward a customer-centric organization and a team member-centric organization where...
Hang on, Brian, I got to pause you real quick. For those that are listening,
yeah,
you really need to watch the YouTube version of this. If you look in the background, Brian, he has a stool with different colors. And as he was announcing the legs, he was showing us hats. Which,
yeah,
but before we get out of this podcast, I want him to actually put all the hats on. Now,
yeah, he's
okay.
got a whole softball league there, not just the team, but a whole league.
But I am internally smiling because, Brian, we had the same issue at Triangle. And I got so frustrated because people treated callbacks as if it was the Black Plague. And I'm like, don't you realize that's the opportunity? So I stopped. I don't call them callbacks. I don't call them retreatments. I call them warranty service. That's what the customer's paying for. It's a warranty service treatment is what I call it. And so it's one of those things now, because people are like, well, that's going to count against me. And so then what I did is I just made the metric is 25%. I made it something ridiculous, meaning like a retreat rate of 25% is when I start looking, because I don't really want someone to just not want to treat the customer, right?
Right.
So you talk about the whole customer centric. It was a really, I had the same wake up call, I guess is my point. So I'm
Donnie,
right there
those are
with
the
you.
things that I mean, that's what we do as
Yeah.
owners. And I look at it like I'm a consultant back to my organization. I even have a big sign over here hanging called Anchor in Consulting. And it's all around leading people and developing, leading people and managing systems. And so another thing I think we've done since the pandemic is we've gotten laser focused on our systems that drive the results. Out here in Southern California, now it's in Nevada, Colorado, In-N-Out hamburger. All you can buy is a burger, fries, and a Coke. And Lindsay, the owner here in Newport Beach, she just does a great job with quality, and their team members earn above average salaries for the fast food industry. The food is good, and they're not adding burritos to the menu. We've become a very laser focused organization. We're not trying to be everything to everybody, and we want to excel at the relationship that we have with our culture and our team members, and then that in turn takes care of our customers, and our customers stay for years and years. Our team members stay for years and years. I'm very proud to say we had an 11% turnover rate for our employment last year, which is one of our lowest in many years.
That's
And
fabulous. Yeah.
we have people retiring from us, and people that have been here 15, 20, 30 years, 31 years. So along with a new workforce that's just joining the family and coming along.
That's fantastic. That is fantastic. So now, when we talked to you back in the day, you were all about recurring revenue. Can you just kind of walk us through that journey and what you're seeing now? I mean, I'm pretty sure I know how this story is going to go. I've seen it more than once. I've read the chapter in multiple companies, but just can you kind of talk the audience through your focus back then, kind of what you're seeing now, and then now that you're 5 years in, what that looks like?
Sure. So I came into the business when there was no recurring. It was real estate, termite inspections, and construction, and all one-time business. And so from the ground floor, we started the pest control division first, but we went through all the trials and errors of going into different segments and being very, very small, and trying to do restaurants and trying to do industrial and trying to do homeowner and really we just had such a small company that we had to get focused. So we focused in on residential and multi-unit housing, and we do commercial too, but we don't do any food handling establishments. And when Dan did the assessment, he said top class companies are at 80%. And so that's just been an internal goal of mine. And so I kind of started looking at our segments of business and seeing how we could get there. And I remember in the podcast, Donnie, I said, yeah, we'll be at 80% in like a year or two. It's taken about 5 years to get there in reality.
You mean it took longer than you anticipated?
It took longer than I anticipated. But a very healthy, solid with solid increases, price increases, with steadiness in our workforce, steadiness in the customers, low turnover with customers, increasing our referral rate. All of these things combined has created in me, I had to be the process. What it created was that we couldn't go out and be trying to sell the one-time stuff that's a lot of money. So then we'd have to change the sales approach, commissions, everything to reflect that we're about recurring. And now I think the team is a believer, because we're a very, very steady business from month to month here in California. We really the seasons are nothing close to what other seasons are in the United States, and our revenues are very consistent. from month to month. So that a lot of that has to do with recurring, but it's more about getting the culture there and increasing your one-time services to so high. You know, our one-time services are priced out to where we don't really want them. The next thing would be for us to say, no, we don't do one time at all. But there are some segments where we'll do a one time, but you have to just kind of change your paradigm and shift it so that the whole company's on board.
That's a very difficult thing for an entrepreneur to do, to turn away money, especially the one times are big money, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to make a big profit hit, but tomorrow it doesn't mean anything, and you got to say, well, I'd rather have a bunch of quarterlies or
Yeah.
recurring services. But it's a very difficult thing for an entrepreneur to do, to turn away money.
Can I just add something to that, because I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's some entrepreneurs that are listening to this that are like thinking in their brain, "You're effing crazy for doing that." But
No.
I have seen multiple business owners do this, and the one thing that you have to keep in mind is that you're leveraging labor, and you have to manage labor just
Yep.
as much as you do money. And so,
Yeah.
when you're leveraging your labor on, I don't want to call it unprofitable work, but you think of everything it takes to manage the one times and how much less labor you need in order to generate basically the same amount of revenue, or even less revenue and more profitable, on the bottom line. It just, when you think about how hard it is to get labor and how much you have to leverage it, it really gets, at least for me, that was kind of okay, this is not this, we're not
The
letting them
other
win.
the other thing is you get a cold snap or a week of rain or something, and the weather doesn't cooperate, and you're trying to market and get more business and you can't. But with a recurring business, I got to believe that you're close to $1 million a month. You wake up on the first of the month and you're gonna do $1 million this month, and
Mhm.
that's really, really powerful,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a confidence booster. And the other thing is the training of technicians. When you're 1, 2, 3 and under $5 million, you can't train technicians to be really great at pest elimination for restaurants and then residential and bed bugs. And you can't be experts in everything. I mean, you can to a certain point, but if you want to scale it, what I have found is, and I learned this probably through the 4 or 5 to $6 million range. There's these stages that you go through, and I've had enough storming stages where it's not fun. You have all kinds of issues, high turnover, losing customers, cash flow issues. That's what an 80% base does. And so what was driving me to get there and to say no to the large one-time projects and to be not building my business around the large one-time business was to know that I'd rather have security and stability within the organization. And I thought I would be doing a better job at leading the company and looking out for the greater good of the whole organization by doing that. And I think we've had a lot of stability by going in that direction. A lot of benefits come out of that you don't even recognize. And that is a lot of times what team members are looking for and what they want is they want stability. They want to know what they can count on. Relationships start to build with the customers. And when you have it dialed in to be really, really steady, the challenge we have now is as routes get too big, a great technician can only service so much. And then at that point, you have to help diversify the route a little bit more. And customers are, no, I want John. But you have to make those decisions and make sure that if they get Susie or John or Fred, everybody's a good technician here. And I think we've conditioned the customers to understand, hey, whoever I get at the Bugman, they're great. So that's another kind of direction of trying to develop that 80% base is making sure the customer knows, just like the in and out model, the in and out. I was at NPMA in October, and we went to In and Out in Denver, and it tasted the same as it did in Newport Beach, California. So, it's just one of those things where I'm trying to model that for our company and be really good at just some specialized areas.
How do you
So for the
reconcile the fact that you love the In-N-Out burger, but you won't service an In-N-Out burger?
Hey,
I
you know
I know.
what? There's a lot of enigma in that because I don't eat fast food, but if I go to a town, if there's an In-N-Out burger,
Oh
I
yeah,
will.
In-N-Out's great.
I
The
will go.
secret menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely will go, and I never eat fast food. And not that I'm like above it or anything. I just don't like it. It makes me feel
Right.
bad, but I really do like In-N-Out burger. Let's switch gears
Yeah.
here real quick, Brian. Let's talk about marketing.
Mhm.
Um, what have you been, we talked about marketing back in the day, and I know that you were focused on pay per click. And of course, the landscape on the digital side has changed dramatically. I'm curious to hear what have you done? Have you made any changes? Are you still focused on pay per click? And if you have, what have you done and what's worked and what hasn't worked?
Yeah. Yes, we're still doing the pay-per-click Google local services and organic optimization. Those are working well. In addition, we're doing radio, which continues to change it up into the listening audience. So we continue to brand our company. Those are the two multimedias that we mostly use. And then we've had a real huge push. Lindsay here at the Bugman has spearheaded the last few years on our raving fan program. So we don't want just satisfied customers, we want raving fans. And so she's led the charge. I think we're up to 1,500 or so Google, 5-star Google reviews. And we are doing everything we can to develop our organic in-house leads, which account for a huge amount of our lead flow. And so with that, there's been incentives put in place for team members to create raving fans, self-generated leads, asking for the order, role-playing, training, teaching, and then accountability so that everybody can play a part in this. I kind of lead the charge with this. We have what's called Brian referrals. I averaged 4 a month. So I average 4 new customers a month that I personally just bring in. And then each salesperson gets to run that sale with me in the background. So I'll let them know who they are, how I know them, where I met them, and that gives me a chance to also do some sales oversight. And so what I'm looking for is between all 70 or 80 people within the company, if everybody was bringing in 4 a month, that would be huge. We
What's
don't
your
have that.
closing rate? What's your closing percentage?
Our goal is 60%. We're right
No,
in.
no, your personal one on the
Oh,
board.
mine? It's pretty high, Dan.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's they love my leads.
Here we call them FOD leads. It's friends of Donnie. So
I mean,
Friends of
everybody has
Donnie.
a friend.
All right.
We
I
we
mean,
have FOD, friends of Dan.
yeah, I can be in the grocery store and somebody says, "Oh, the Bugman, the blue trucks." I said, "Yep, that's us." And I'll hand them my card, circle my cell number on it. I said, "When you're ready, call me. Better yet, do you want me to set it up right now?" And but what I do is they have a personal. I'm very accessible as the owner, so customers have a sense, a true family owned and operated operation.
I have one. I'm going to kind of go off script a little bit. In my business, I have my son working with us who's a CPA, and I couldn't be more proud. And I'm so excited for the next generation to take over. You have 2 kids in the business.
Yes,
Explain that.
sir.
Explain how do you feel about that? And what's the future for the kids and you and you
Oh,
know.
it's the best, Dan. We've talked about it. I'm a second generation, so my father and I worked together for 25 years, and we got the company to 3 million, where I purchased the company from him in '05, and now there's a third generation coming along. Lindsay's been here 7 years. She's our director of HR and does all the recruiting and does a fantastic job. She I think brought in 16 or 18 new team members last year, and they just keep getting better and better. And when some people are having a hard time recruiting and finding people, we're doing a good job and keeping the bench full. And she folds over from an HR standpoint into operations. So she's made our company better through process and procedures and training, teaching our managers to help keep consistent with our processes that we have in place. Follow the process, it'll get you the result. And so she's coming along well. Brett joined our team 3 years ago. He's our accounting manager and handling all the finance side of it. And they both are involved with the day-to-day operations. My executive team is including Peter, our operations for sales and service. So I have a 3-person executive team that shores up the finance, the HR, and the operations. And then I'm involved with them. And then we have our extended leadership team that totals 12, including us. What's it like having them coming along? In all honesty, being in this industry now for 43 years, I had a number in mind. If anybody ever wrote me a check, I would be like, I'm good. I've passed that number. So then it comes to where it becomes fun. So when I first met you, Donnie, and Dan, I wasn't having fun. It was a lot of work, and getting larger was not what it was all cracked up to be. But if you can get laser focused, and we've had about a 7% growth each year since the pandemic, and that's very manageable for our team. And so when you're bringing along another generation, they have to earn the respect and the keep of their own doing. So they have their roles. It's Brian around the company. It's not Dad, and they also have outside experience outside of the industry. So they bring that into the company now. So Dan, it's nothing better, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and it's just a good place to be. So it's nice seeing your
fun
son
stuff.
coming along
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it's pretty fun stuff.
It's about and throughout the industry, there's this movement of family owned and operated that there's some folks way bigger, Stacy and Plunkett and ABC and everybody else, all the family owned and operated, Jamie down in San Diego here. And, it's nice to see that, sometimes it goes, 4 or 5 generations, and there's some value in that. And so as an owner, my paradigm has shifted throughout the years. To me, business is like a sport. It's fun. It's there's scorecards, and you got players, and to me, I enjoy that. And so as long as I can continue to contribute to my team and all these livelihoods, the customers love us. It's a fun industry. It's a fun business to be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have time for about 2 more questions, and I want to finish out with what I consider to be the most important, which is, let's talk about where you're going, and then I want to finish out with, one piece of advice you'd give to our listeners. So let's start with obviously you've had quite the journey since we talked back in 2020. Let's talk about what's coming up, and I mean, I think we should have you on before 2030, maybe we, but kind of what's next for the Bugman, and kind of what's your focus and what you're going to do. And then, maybe we'll just finish it off with one piece of advice for our listeners.
Sure. Well, for 2025, where are we going? Revenue goal is 13,310,000. Gross profit goal is 55%. Net profit goal is between 10 and 15%. Team culture, 100%, 10% retention. I was going to say 100%, 10% retention.
10% attrition.
Yes, attrition. Yeah, thank you, Dan. Our customer quality score, our NPS at 92. Continue to fine-tune operational processes and systems, and continue to develop our team. And I think 2025 is just bringing laser focus on our team members and our customers. I think what I would recommend in looking at my experience within the industry, and I think my advice would be find your specialty. What is your specialty as an owner, as a president, as a CEO? And then try to shore up your team with those that can shore up areas that are maybe more liabilities where you can have a really solid company. And you can't pretend to be in business. You have to be all in. In other words, this industry is not something you can get a truck and a tank and start doing pest control. But if you really, really want to move and you're at the 1 million mark or 2 or 3 and you want to grow or 4 or 5, to me, those are great platforms to build from. I just believe in being laser focused with intentionality, and it makes for a very steady workforce. And so you don't just want steady cash flow. Yes, that absolutely is a must, but you want steady team members, because those team members are the ones I look at team members like I want you here for life, and what can we do to try to make that happen? How can we develop? What do you want to do here? And so I think, Donnie, my advice would be stay focused, create a specialty, and the specialty is a brand. Like we have a brand now here in Southern California, and it's our blue trucks, and they've been blue. We paint them all blue. We don't wrap them, but we've created a brand. Everything all the way down to our van tennis shoes, the Bugman van tennis shoes. I got my
Oh boy, with
I got
the
my little
hats and
I love
wobblehead with my stool.
Oh my gosh,
it-
that is fantastic.
Everything is a brand, and so you build your brand. There's only one Donnie. There's only one Dan. There's only one Brian Olson. There's only
Right.
one Bugman. And
Right.
so that's what's so cool about business is that the market, there's lots of business out there, and have fun at it, and then bring along people that want to have fun with it. 5-star fun is what I say.
So I have
that.
to brag on Brian just a bit here. And listen, I met Brian when he was not having fun. And Brian, I apologize that I'm going to do this, but it's such a difference seeing you now and where you came from. And for our listeners, if you're struggling in business, I mean, Brian is absolutely the poster child for someone who maybe wasn't having a great time and who has turned it around. And I mean, just talking to you on this podcast, it's a night and day difference from when we first met. I distinctly remember our first meeting when I came out and visited I still remember that meeting to this day.
Yep,
And
me
I just
too.
remember just how unsure you were of yourself. And just like you said, I think you just had kind of lost a lot of confidence. And now I see you and you're laser focused. I mean, you're fully confident and you're growing the business, and it really looks like you're having a great time. And I just want to commend you for that. It's just such a great thing to see. It's fantastic, Brian. I mean, and I mean that as every compliment I could possibly pass along to you. I mean, it's fantastic to see.
I really
So
appreciate
congratulations
that,
on-
Donnie. Thank
Yeah.
you. I love this industry. There's 2 people that impacted my life in this industry. And number 1, that was Chuck Steinmetz, and number 2 was Harvey Massey. And both those folks, Chuck had me out to his home, and Harvey had me out to his business. And I was at 3-4 million, and I was like, how do you do it? And I open my doors here too to people that want to figure out, well, how do you do it? And because this is a really giving industry, and
Right.
there's a lot of people that we work together. We're all in the same boat. But thanks, Donnie, a lot. You helped me tremendously. Coalmarch has helped me tremendously, and Dan at PCO Bookkeepers. It's awesome having our outsourced CFO, and his staff and team is excellent. And getting it to a place where it makes sense and it's fun, I think is what we're all looking for. And that's what changed my paradigm of staying in and not selling the business. So it was that, wait, this can be very steady, and
Right.
risk can be low, and all things
Right.
can be hitting on all cylinders. So thanks for sharing that.
No, and it's always fun when you're winning the game, right?
Yeah.
It sucks when you're losing, but
Exactly.
but that's what we do. We keep playing till we figure it out. All right, Dan, anything to add before we finish out here?
I think that's about it. I second everything that you said, Donnie, because when I met you, Ryan, it was definitely challenging, and you totally turned it around. And
Yeah.
now it looks like it's just fun.
Great success story for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
So
it's, I got to hand it to my team. It takes a village, a lot of good people. And one last thing is, as an independent owner at 1 million or 5 million or wherever you're at, develop an informal board of directors around you, and people that you can trust and go to and say, hey, what about this? And not only industry, but non-industry people. And that has been also part of my success is having a small group of people that I can say, I have no idea what to do here.
yeah,
You got to have people like that.
Fantastic advice. Well, just a reminder, all the resources and topics that we talked about today are going to be available on the podcast website. We will absolutely put the blue trucks. I can't make any promises about your own specialized van shoes, but it will put it up on the pmpindustryinsider.com on our website. Just take a look under show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or any episode, we always ask that you rate and review us, however it is that you consume the content, whether it be on YouTube or some other podcast software. And I would be amiss if I didn't say that Dan really appreciates any complaints and just general complaining in general. He really likes it.
They're not complaints. They're
opportunities.
Customer service opportunities.
He loves opportunities like that. And with that, we're signing out. We'll see you all next time. Take care.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye
Take
now.
care. Bye.
Have a good day.